All right, let's also welcome in Devendra Nevgi, CEO of Zyfin Advisors, who's joining us on the show today. It's been great having you with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's just kickstart by talking about the kind of swings in the market we're seeing. Do you feel that right now we are tracking global cues even more than domestic measures?
Well, in the short run, there will be various spillovers in the markets, including the domestic and global. I think it's a combination of both. On the global side, some of the element of the Fed increases that are expected, the geopolitical risk that has come in. On the domestic side, it's more related to hope versus reality, where some of the reform-led rallies that happened, some of the outcomes have not come in as expected by the market. So obviously there is a little disappointment there. It was partly reflected in the buy polls that happened in the in some of the states.
Do you think that's a little harsh, given that it's not been that long? I mean, we had some experts referring to it earlier today as the honeymoon hope rally as such, but we haven't really had a chance to see the government to roll those reforms out.
See, I think what happens typically is that some of the investors globally are very myopic. It's like in India, the T20 is watched more actively than the Test cricket, and we are all used to instantaneous results that come out very quickly, and we can't wait for a very long time. So I completely agree with that. 100 days is too short of a time. But the point which I want to make is that when you are going in a direction, there has to be some amount covered. I'm not saying we should reach the goal in 90 or 100 days. There has to be some noise, some communication that we are going to reach there ultimately. Some announcement would have been of great help of reforms. So that is where I think where we are lacking, is that what was expected from the markets,
right.
what was expected from the government has not yet come in to the tune of 100%.
Okay.
The direction is probably right, but the momentum is slightly slower than what was expected. But in the medium to long term, we are still confident that if India puts its act in place,
right.
it will definitely continue to do better and attract flows.
But is there a fear that we've probably topped out for the year? Because that's been the other debate. I don't want to get into individual levels here, because we're not looking from a trading point of view. But that recent top that we created a few days back, you believe that's going to stay, and it's going to be tough for the market to take that out probably?
See, we don't believe in honestly tops and bottoms. It's a completely a different subject.
No, fair.
But from our perspective, the investors that we talk to globally, I think they are confident of the long-term outcome of the markets. There might be some profit booking. There might be some geopolitical what we call as driven volatility. But for long-term investors, it doesn't matter. If you look at institutional investors like pension funds in US. 2003 or last 15 years, the overall portfolio has generated 6 to 7%. They'll be happy to have much better return than this, and they're happy to hold it for 15, 20 years.
Staying on that topic, that's been the talking point with some of our experts that we've been discussing since morning, asking FIs that, well, you've poured in quite a bit already for this year. To what I last recollect, you got over $14 billion inflow in equities itself. Do you believe the last remaining months of this year also have potential to just topple what we've seen in the last few years? I mean, could we have those record inflows? Well, forget the actual number also. More so, is there still money waiting on the sidelines to enter this market?
I think absolutely yes. And I think what we have missed out is that India got around 14 billion in this year in equities. We have missed out on debt.
Yeah.
It's around 18.5 billion, which is much more than equities.
Which has been a rare case for India.
Yeah. And despite the fact that the interest rate differential between the two countries is going to narrow down. So despite that narrowing down, the flows have come in. The point here is that flows typically follow hope, and flows typically follow an expectation of growth, and expectation of substantial and structural changes that is happening. So according to me, I think the flows may not have the same run rate, but still they will continue to be reasonably positive for the simple reason that everyone knows, as you rightly said, that 100 days is not, it is not a magic wand that he kind of turns on and then the whole economy turns around. So that's the key. So we have to be a little patient on him and patient on the flow. Some of the short-term investors like hedge funds and all, they would like to book profits and leave. But the stronger hands, I'm still confident that they will continue to believe in Indian story, because where you will find so many advantages, and the macro scene is changing completely for India. That's the key.
Well, today, of course, the Prime Minister is a little busy with foreign policy, with the visiting a Chinese Premier. We'll get you a little bit more on that as well, but after a very quick break. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Countdown on Bloomberg TV India, and we're just awaiting the Prime Minister who, we're just awaiting Xi Jinping to actually just, I think the plane's landed in Ahmedabad. We're just waiting for his formal arrival is what we're seeing.
Remember, they have a lot on their agenda today, and they're going to be discussing, of course, what they can do with trade. That's where they are at the moment. We're waiting the Chinese Premier to actually land, and then, of course, there's going to be a private dinner tonight. So we're going to be a little unsure, perhaps, until tomorrow exactly what was on the agenda and what they're going to discuss. But trade, of course, is a top priority. We were, in fact, just talking about that, Priyank, you and I, about how he's giving some key words to this entire visit with the Prime Minister as well. He said that he's looking for, how this is going to boost trade going forward. I can't find that quote just now, but I'll try and pull that up for you.
He actually just tweeted a few minutes. He just tweeted about that as to how they see the relation, and it had something to do with inch and miles, is what I remember.
The unique chemistry between India and China can script history and create a better tomorrow for the entire humankind. And he also added that if I have to describe the potential of India-China ties, I would say inch, as in India and China, towards miles, millennium of exceptional synergy.
All right, so let's see if that does really, and how that actually does work out. But we're just counting down for that. We'll be giving you we're getting you live coverage of that as well as the events do unfold out there. We'll be tracking that pretty closely. Those are live visuals on your screen right now. All right, we're, I think, just getting those visuals there. There you see the Chinese Premier just stepping out right now of his aircraft.
In fact, if you take a look at India-China trade, over the last couple of years, we've actually seen that trade has gone up about 9 times in the last 10 years. And in terms of exports, India has, about $20 billion. China has about $48.4 billion. So it's quite a blaring gap over there. So while it has increased from, let's say, 7 billion in 2004 to 68 billion back in 2013, there's, of course, still a lot more that can be done. China does have a lot of positive trade relations with other emerging markets as well, like Brazil and Russia.
We were just talking about this with Devendra as well, in terms of how the Prime Minister has actually managed to do the foreign policy. I mean, he's been on a trip to Japan, which has been highly successful. He's got some more trips lined up in the next few weeks as well. We've got the Chinese Premier who's just come down today. Any thoughts, Devendra, as to how this is actually playing out, purely in terms of, it's been some time since you've seen these kind of steps being taken on the foreign policy front.
Yeah, I think the foreign policy he would probably get out of 9 out of 10 very clearly. He has achieved a lot in foreign policy, right from the master stroke from the Pakistan side when he invited the Prime Minister, also on the China and Japan. The key thing here is that what she just discussed, that the inch and the this thing
miles.
And the miles. I would love to convert the local inch into local miles now, as far as the government execution goes, because that will matter much more to the market and to the overall perspective of global investors into India. Foreign policy, yes, it's an awesome thing. I think from India and China and Japan together will be really a formidable this thing for India, especially when our Prime Minister is due in US, where by the month end. So it's a wonderful time for him to encourage relationships with these two giants in the region.